flipped. All right, it's welcome to Art's Place, conservative talk from a liberal view. So let's bring up my co-host, Lloyd Mendenhall. Let's get him on the screen. There, did that intro come on?
No. Well, it
God.
played, but no. Okay. Being as we don't have a set agenda today, maybe we can do a couple of things here.
Okay.
If it's your show, you go ahead and do your opening and announcements and anything you need to talk about, and then we'll kind of play it by ear.
All right, you got it. Well, today, folks, it's kind of an open line show. So today we're going to talk about the last Democrat debates and some of the really idiotic comments that came out of that we'll talk about, and also we're going to talk about the 9/11 remembrance. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about where Lloyd was when that event happened. I will talk about what happened, where I was, and what happened. When that event happened, and anybody in the chat give us your experiences, and we will talk about it on the show. So I'm going to go over here to my YouTube, and let's see if yes, we are live right now.
Yes, we are live.
Good.
Yeah,
Cool.
I did check that.
Okay.
So that's why I posted on Twitter and stuff like that, so that people would know, and hopefully they'll start joining pretty soon.
Yes. Yeah, I've been trying to get Mitch from Old Guy on the Drone to come by, and he keeps forgetting. So hopefully he'll come by, and some of the regulars will.
Yeah, I'm hoping they will. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. What's next, my friend?
All right, so let's jump into it. I didn't see the debates, but I heard a whole lot about it on Facebook, on radio, on the conservative shows, and there is a lot to talk about. And I think the big thing is Beto O'Rourke. Now, Lloyd, did you hear some of the stuff he said?
I'm trying to think. Somebody, I can't remember what it was. I heard that. I hear so many of those, and I try to keep up so that I can, have something to contribute to the show, which I seem to always miss. I did not see the debate, so because I just couldn't be bothered. The only thing I know about it is they attacked each other, and they left President Trump alone. So, hey, that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and the one thing that was different this time around is they didn't beat up on Obama like they did in the first couple debates.
Yeah.
I think they were trying to get at Biden. So they didn't gang up on Obama, but they ganged up on Biden for some of the things he said, or thinks he said, or he thinks he remembered he said.
I have a better chance of being president and probably remembering what I said than he does. At least what I say is usually here on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
All he's got to do is go back and watch his old press conferences, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
That's right.
Uh, he, he,
Mm.
the poor guy. I think he's slipping a little.
Yeah, I think he is. I don't think he has a chance. I think Elizabeth Warren has a better chance of winning the primary. And if she does, I think Trump is just gonna steamroll her. And
I've heard the prediction more than once on more than one occasion that Elizabeth Warren will probably get the nomination.
mm-hmm.
And if she does, well, we're good, providing we can take back the House. That's the biggest thing. We got to take back the House. And, you know, for example, here's something that came up. I meant to bring it in here, but I got a letter the other day, and,
Mm-hmm.
and I looked at it and it said, Donald J. Trump, President, United States, on the return address. Okay. So I open it up and I look at it. And, I flip it over and on back, there's his signature. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And, I held it up the Liza photo signature. It's just one of those that they do.
Yeah.
But the gist of it and the reason I've kept it, but, it's going to go in the trash because it was the RNC asking for money.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Okay.
get those all the
I
time.
get,
Maybe once
why
or
does the
twice a
RNC,
week. Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, the RNC is not getting a dime of my money. I'll give it to all my local people. I'll
Yep.
donate to
Mhm.
them to see that they get the money to run an election.
Yep.
I will send it. I'll send a $5 bill to Donald Trump this week. I'll
Yep.
send it personally to the White House
Mm-hmm.
and say, I will not donate to the RNC, but I will donate to your reelection.
Right.
And that's the way I feel about it. They did not support him as president, and they've done a really crappy job of supporting our local people,
Mm-hmm. Mm.
which
Okay,
we've talked about on here.
let's welcome a couple people. Drone Life RC, welcome to the show. And Steve Carpenter is in. He's only in for a short bit, and he's going to be visiting his mom, so he's going to catch the replay. And
Okay, Steve. Yeah.
I agree with you, Lloyd. I will only support the local candidates because I just don't trust what the RNC will do with the money.
Yeah. I mean, first off, they could they'd have a lot more money to spend if they'd quit sending out those 4-page letters in the mail. And
Right.
how many of those did they send out?
Mhm.
That's my problem I have with these fundraising groups is they waste more money than they spend,
Right. Hmm.
on
Yeah,
the purpose,
I agree. I agree.
and it just aggravates me. And so I will send him a $5 bill, address it to the White House, and send him a $5 bill. Say, here's my $5 donation. I
Hmm.
refuse to give any money to the RNC.
All right. Mm-hmm.
So I'll probably send him one of my campaign sticker, one of my campaign things too.
There you
I don't
go.
know if it'll get through to him, but I'll send it to him.
All right, let's get back to the debate. Anyway,
Right.
what Beto O'Rourke said, he talked about he's going to take our AKs and ARs away from us.
I did
And,
hear that.
and every one of those people on the stage, they probably agree with him. But
Yeah.
how are they going to do that? That's what I like to think. You think the military is going to start knocking on people's doors? I don't think so. Hey, there are, Colorado just got the red flag
Red flag
law,
law. I know.
and that goes into effect in January.
Right.
However, more than half of the sheriffs in Colorado are saying, we're not going to enforce it. I'm not going to send my deputy out to
Yeah.
confiscate some guy's gun and happen to lose not only the deputy's lives, but kill another person.
Yeah.
So,
They're setting it up. Uh, I have to stop and think. Ruby Ridge was during Clinton.
yeah.
Okay. They're setting it up to do the same thing. They're going to have themselves another Ruby Ridge. And because there's those people out there that are on the extreme right that, out of my cold dead hands. Well, look at Who's that rancher?
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
they ended up. I mean,
Bundy.
ha-
Yeah,
yeah. Have you seen their the leader of their group that he was driving in? Have you seen that video of how he died? What they did? There's a YouTube video out there of his of I don't know if it was Bundy's daughter or who it was. There was two girls in the back seat, and the guy goes out. Of course, he brought it on himself to an extent, but because he stands out there and says, "You're not taking me," and but they were shooting at these girls who were yelling, we give up, and they just kept shooting. That's the kind of FBI that we have currently, and that's
yeah.
the kind of situation that these laws are going to instigate if they're not careful.
Hmm.
And that's just that kind of crap is just, you know, first off, we have an FBI that's
Yeah.
right now is currently so screwed up, for
Mhm.
lack of a better word,
Yeah.
that it makes you. I don't know that you can trust this current. And these are all a lot of these are leftovers from the Clinton era and from the Obama era,
Yep. Mhm.
and they've got the indoctrination of that. But yeah, I'd like to see what's going to happen if they all try to take
Yeah.
the sheriffs. The sheriffs are right,
Mhm.
and I know
Mhm.
my son. There's a lot of stuff he says. He says it's better just to let it go than to
Mhm.
uh, to just let it go, because now if they know somebody's a threat, if somebody's made threats, if somebody's done threats, and
Right.
you know yeah, they're going to have to do what they have to do.
Yeah.
But if it's just because an ex-wife is unhappy with them, or some politician decides, well, that person's, because here's the thing: any Democrat who doesn't like a running mate,
Mhm.
or not a running mate, but an opponent, they can use that law and say, hey, they've made threats to me on here. I've seen it.
Mhm.
They're gonna, and boom, they enact that law, and they can take, that's
Mhm.
that's the way they're,
Yep. That's
that's my opinion. That might
yeah.
maybe I need to go get my tinfoil hat out.
Yeah, and it could hurt the police department too, because some cop's girlfriend or ex-wife or
Yep.
estranged wife could make a statement, and that guy loses his job or
Yeah.
loses his guns. But how
Right.
effective is he going to be if he goes to work and, well, I don't have my guns because, my ex-wife or girlfriend, made a statement, and so that
I
makes
know of
him
a I know of a
ineffectual. Mhm.
I know of a circumstance quite a few years ago of a person who had been private law enforcement and had been in law enforcement, and he had guns, and it turned out that his ex was having an affair, and she finally dropped the hammer on him and told him, and he was doing everything he could to try and keep the marriage together, not
Right.
knowing that she was having this affair.
Mhm.
And when she finally told him, uh, he left. And
Mm.
then she called the family of this guy and said, he's left with all his guns. We found out where I'm having an affair, and I'm scared that he's going to do something harmful. And this, when I heard about it, I said, well, did they call the cops?
Mhm.
And they said, no. And I said, well, then maybe you ought to. So they did.
Mhm.
And they asked her if she called the cops, and she apparently said no, but she would. Well, they finally found the young man, and he'd gone, loaded up his truck and packed his bags, and he went camping to try and think about it,
Right.
figure out what. Turned out his gun was not with him. He never took it.
Oh.
She was trying to get this guy, and when the police finally showed up, they had to check. And of course, they talked to the parents of this young man, and he said, no. We checked his bags. He's got a little 22 that he carries with him. It's a little snake pistol, but it's not his service revolver.
Right.
And
Mm.
come to find out, the service revolver was still locked up in the safe. She was just trying to get his record ruined. you know,
Yep.
and and to push it. Actually, she was hoping to push him. I think her intentions, from what I've been told, is her intentions were to push him over the edge so he did do something to himself, and
Hmm.
then she could, her and his best friend was who she's, they could
Oh,
play, the grieving widow and this and the grieving best friend, and they just
right.
naturally fell together. Yeah, yeah.
Oh
But
boy.
that plan didn't work out. But that's the point. She had this person, this lady had a scheme in mind
Hmm.
and called the cops after, which should have done in the first place if they were worried about that. But obviously they weren't worried about that. But the family said, no, you call the cops. In the end, it turned out to be nothing
Uh-huh.
except this woman trying to cover her tracks.
Right.
But the point is, uh, with this new laws, that's the kind of crap that can happen,
Yep. Hmm.
and this person would have lost his guns and
Hmm.
all of that over some vindictive broad.
And okay, say they do this. What is the oh God, how do you get your guns back? How do you prove that you're not the nutcase everybody says you are? There's no uh,
There's no recourse for the
yeah.
accused. Yes,
Hmm.
yeah. There's no resolution for the accused. They can't resolve. Uh, I mean, because just going in and saying, this is, what do you do? Show your ex-wife is vindictive or your ex-girlfriend is vindictive, how do you prove that,
Hmm.
it they're taking away guns on a he said she said.
Hmm. Yeah, and
They
it
don't
could
even give divorces. They won't prosecute any crime in this state just because somebody says. They've got to have proof to support it. But
mm,
yet with these laws, they can go ahead and prosecute by pulling the guns. That's
mm,
that's execution of the decision,
mhm, mhm.
and they execute the warrant based on uh,
Accusation.
accusations, and that's it. You know, come to think, doesn't that sound like something that's been going on recently up in Washington?
Yeah.
FISA warrants, weren't they done that way?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
when yeah, when they tried to trump up this
yeah,
whole deal, Russian collusion.
yeah.
Hey, let's welcome Chris Hope. Welcome, Chris. Yeah, so yeah, so they just made up a story. They tried to make it, oh, let's make it sound kind of plausible. And then they took it to this judge, and without any real evidence, he signed off on it. And that's what's started this whole ball wax. And we spent millions of dollars of taxpayer money on a wild goose chase.
We're still spending money on that crap.
Yep.
We
Hmm.
got congressmen that are sitting up there right now, wringing their hands and saying we're going to do this. And we got, well, the left. Nancy, I think the other day said that this is the last time she was going to talk about it.
Hmm.
She said I refuse to answer questions on uh, what sort of impeachment things are going on. It's like
Hmm.
she doesn't want to do it because she's smart. You know,
Hmm.
she's crazy, but she's smart. You know,
And they've already laid out the groundwork for impeachment. I'm like, going, what law did he break? I mean,
yeah,
just because
and
he hurt your feelings, you want to throw him out of office? I mean, we are watching a coup
yeah,
in progress.
exactly. Yeah, that's all
Mhm,
this is. I mean, you start with I mean, I think the best thing I've heard so far is that oh, he was the acting FBI director.
oh, not Comey, Mueller.
Mu-
What?
no, not Mueller was the no. It was the guy that took over after McCabe.
McCabe, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like maybe he's going to get into some problems.
Hmm.
Uh, with luck, they're going
Right,
to nail
right.
him on some stuff.
Hmm.
And once that starts happening, once the top starts falling, you know,
Mm,
Eventually, this is how the FBI works, and this is, uh, this is why several of these people got busted and have been prosecuted on lying to the FBI because, they come at you. So, Art, are you really sitting in front of Denver? Are you in Denver? Are you really sitting there? Or are you sitting in front of a green screen? I need to know, but you can't lie to me about it. Okay. Are you in Denver or are you in front of a green screen? Well, in your case, you're both. You're in Denver and you're in front of a green screen. Well, see, now we know you're lying because that's a green screen because we can see it. We can see it move in the breeze back there. So we know, we're going to prosecute you for lying to the FBI.
yeah. Or
Something
or
like
they'll
that.
say something like, "We have evidence that you did," and makes you like, you don't know. They might have dug up something, and they kind of intimidate you
Yeah,
into
it's
making a statement that is not entirely factual.
yeah,
Like what happened to Scooter Libby?
yeah,
They
yeah,
got him on what's called a process crime. It was just a fishing expedition, and I am glad that Trump did finally. I think he granted him clemency. Uh,
yeah,
if he would have pardoned him, he'd get his law license back. But
yeah, yeah,
yeah, hmm
yeah. I don't know. There was a lot of that stuff, and you notice it's always the Democrats that seem to
hmm
be pushing it.
yeah.
The one time the Republicans did it, they didn't have control of the Senate, so that was a wasted time. You know,
Oh,
uh,
Bill Clinton.
Clinton,
I think
Bill Clinton, yeah,
yeah, they did have the Senate, but they didn't have a super majority.
yeah, and they had to have a
Yeah, you
super
need
majority at that.
67 senators to
Yeah,
convict, and they couldn't do it.
yeah, yeah,
And plus, we had a couple of our guys say no, and
yeah,
it was
yeah,
John McCain and Fred
yeah,
Talk.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
hmm
I mean, God rest his soul. McCain did stuff for this country,
Yes.
but he did a lot of harm to the party.
Yeah.
Uh,
hmm
uh, and unfortunately, that's uh,
Right.
we got a lot of those guys up there, and
hmm
uh, you know, but yeah, I'd like to going back to what we talked about the guns in the
Right.
debate. Let's get back on that. I'm sorry, I did that to you again, Art. I think one of us did.
Yeah. Well, and then uh, but that was the main thrust of the whole debate was the gun confiscation statement,
Yeah,
and also more of the same. We're going to give you free this, free that, and I like the analogy that someone pointed out where a 6 year old says, "Well, why don't we have free everything?"
yeah,
hmm
yeah, and unfortunately, that's the way this is being treated. Is like a 6-year-old is running it. I
hmm
don't. Maybe 6-year-olds are planning their campaign strategy. But last I heard, 6-year-olds couldn't vote. But
hmm
they may change
Well,
that. They
they're
might.
trying to get it down to 16. And I'm like, oh God, that's scary.
Yeah. I mean, I was pretty smart in politics back then.
hmm
But you know, in some ways, living to 18, and in my day, you could start drinking beer in
Yeah.
18. In
hmm
Colorado, it's 3-2 beer, but it was beer. It's
hmm
watered beer, but it was still beer.
Yep.
And that was a big deal. And being able to vote, and you know, a lot of these kids are griping about we're old enough to die for a country, but we're not old enough to drink. Well, I
hmm
look back now and I wasn't old enough to be drinking. I didn't really need to have access to beer all the time, you
hmm
know, and I wasn't, at 16, I certainly wasn't old enough to drink or to vote because I didn't know, you know, I was pretty smart because I was, I was pretty fortunate. I had a fifth grade teacher that started teaching me
hmm
about government back in fifth. We actually learned something back then.
Yep.
This, and so, uh, we had one that was teaching and was teaching us. We had two teachers that were. I've told this story before.
Yep.
But we had two teachers that were. One was Democrat, one was Republican,
Mm.
and they were campaigning for their specific. Uh, but I remember as a kid in second grade voting for. The school had an election. We had you know a fake election. They gave
Right.
us that handed out every student a piece of paper with a name.
Hmm.
Goldwater or Johnson,
Right.
and I voted for Goldwater back when Goldwater was running, and in grade school, grade school, yeah,
Right.
and so yeah, I knew then what I want, how I was leaning, and it wasn't from my parents; it was just what I saw on the news,
Right.
and it's like I would have never voted for Humphrey because he always interrupted. As a vice president, he was always interrupting shows to talk, you know.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yep.
was he vice president under Johnson?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
Hmm.
and he was always having these press conferences or these talks, and it
Hmm.
interrupted the good shows I was trying to watch. Back then, the news channels actually broke to listen to what both sides had to say.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know.
Yep. That's right. And actually, Goldwater was actually a conservative.
Yes. Yeah.
Where Nixon was more, he was a moderate Republican, and
Right. He was.
he,
Yeah.
he
Goldwater
gave
was.
us, he started this alphabet soup of these different cabinet positions. I think didn't he start the Department of Education?
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, I think he
Yeah.
did. I think
Mhm.
so.
And the Department of Energy, I think, was under Carter. And you notice,
Yeah, he had to have a Department of Energy because he's trying to figure out where we're going to get the oil because of the oil embargoes and stuff.
mhm,
Yeah. Yeah. We had God, I remember those times when the prices shot up through the ceiling.
yeah. Hmm. Oh, and speaking of oil embargo, you heard that Iran has launched attacks on Saudi oil fields.
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
did. I missed that one in the news.
yeah, that was just recently, and I'm like, oh wow, that could cause a spike in the price of oil.
It could, but fortunately for us, we've started reverting to a different outlet for our oil,
Hmm.
and that's why our prices are staying at a relatively low level. You know,
But you got to remember, oil is a fungible commodity.
right, right.
When Saudi Arabia is not pumping out as much oil, that kind of shrinks the market.
It does. It does.
Unless the United States increases production, then
Right.
it won't have as big effect on it.
Yeah.
At first time in a long time, the United States is uh, oil independent. We
Yeah.
don't have to depend on foreign sources of oil.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And then
you know,
now the Democrats, well, also at the debate, Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas said she's
right.
going to outlaw fracking and stop all oil productions on public lands. And she will try to figure out how to shut down uh, oil production here in the United States.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
how's that working for California?
yeah. And
You know?
California's got oil too, especially around the Los Angeles area.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. And,
But
and well,
but
New York State doesn't allow fracking. They don't. Uh, it's, it's just dumb because
well,
they're
okay.
they are, they've got a Democrat controlled assembly and a governor, and they basically stopped all oil production in New York. And they've got a big oil reserve under the state.
Yeah. Well, when these states have to start buying from other states, that may change some of the, well, and that's why they've got such high prices in places not like New York, because they can't import, they don't have their, they don't use their own oil,
Hmm.
and so they're buying it from everybody else. The thing is the more of a product you've got, the lower the lower the in cost will be,
Hmm.
you know,
That's right.
and they don't understand that. Of course, they have such high energy tax, anyways. You know, same as California. California's got a ridiculous energy price.
Yeah.
Energy tax, or oil tax.
Hmm.
Gas tax, whatever,
Hmm.
and it's just ridiculous. But Rodney Bell just came in,
Yeah, I saw that Rodney Bell and yep,
and
and
Carlos is listening from
Carlos.
his car radio.
Good, good, good.
I didn't know we'd made it to the radio. Wow! So we're finally on. We finally made it to radio. I wonder what channel we're on.
Oh boy, hey, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's have YouTube Radio live at 94.5 FM. WKRP.
Yeah, Cincinnati.
Daddy.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to sing this too early in the
Fred
morning.
Wiggler's a Cadillac of worms.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about that before the show started. Art and I were having some good conversation before the show started. That's what I was. One of the things is, I was going to ask you, being we're kind of we're we're a little bit open platform today because you don't have a guest. But one of the things I was going to ask was, on your setup, you're using StreamYards, correct?
Right.
All right. Now you're having problems with your music going out.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you have all this stuff set up in vmix, correct?
Right.
All right, so you have your timer with music uh set up. Now what you got to remember is to always make sure the music, when it goes live with the video,
Right.
it needs to make sure that button that says audio is green,
Right.
and if it's not green, well, then it's not going out.
Okay.
Now the other thing is, part of the reason the music is not going out is also you mute your mic in StreamYards,
Oh, okay.
and and I noticed you unmuted it, but then I could hear you breathing, but I couldn't go because you were frustrated, and I could
Um,
hear that. But the thing is do you have a separate audio input? In other words, in vmix, did you set up audio input?
hmm. Hmm.
In other words, you would add an input and you go to, let me see real quick because I'm using vmix too.
Add input.
Add input, and then you click where it says audio input. It's down towards the bottom.
Right.
You click on that, and that's where you select your mic at.
Right.
Okay. Do you have one of those?
Yes, I do. And right currently, I'm using the USB mic, and I have the mic on the camera turned off.
Right. But
And
you've done all that
mhm.
outside, but outside of vmix, right? You've
Oh, I've also got VMix Audio, Bus A, Bus B, MA, MAB.
Okay.
And then I also have New
Yeah.
Tech NDI Audio.
Right. What you want to do when you get ready to, you're still in that audio input window, right?
Right.
Okay. What you want to do is select the microphone you use,
Yep.
and
Yep.
then just click OK.
Hmm.
All right. And once you click OK, you'll notice down in your inputs, you'll scroll down there on the side where your inputs are at,
Right.
and you'll have one that says audio. It'll say, it should say your mic or audio
Yeah,
input.
it says audio microphone. Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
Okay. That should be selected anytime you're live. That should automatically, and you should be seeing the meter jump up and down when you talk.
Yep.
Okay. When you get ready, all you do is go live. Unless you have do you have a button on your mixer or whatever you use to put your mic? You're just using a USB mic, right?
Right.
Okay. Do you have a way to mute that mic?
Hmm.
You
Well,
do
I
now.
can mute it in the audio mixer.
In the audio mixer
Yeah.
of
Over on, yeah, in vMix.
right, but you're not. Are you clicking on the master button, or which one are you clicking? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You should have one that says inputs over there now, and it says audio microphone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I
All right.
have audio microphone. That's number two.
Yeah. Okay. Audio microphone. All right. And it should be on the input side of that. All you have to do is click that little speaker next to it, or go down and look for it in your inputs, wherever you have your inputs at. But
Right.
you can do it right there. You can just click the speaker, and now you won't be able to hear me. See,
Right.
when I did that, you couldn't hear me, could you? Testing 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah,
5,
I hear
6.
you.
Oh, you're hearing me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then obviously I'm not. That's not working. So, oh, how about now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Really?
Yep.
All right. Well, then there's one other way to do it. Let me find out my inputs. How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Why is my mic coming?
I don't know.
Wow. Because that's supposed to make sure my mic is on there. Because when I check audio off, it shouldn't be working. I know I can't hear myself in it.
I hear you.
You hear me?
Yep.
Okay. That means I need to check and see what my output is.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Okay, so that didn't work. That was an experiment of absolutely no use because that's not the way it's supposed to work.
Right.
Oh, I'm in a different set. I've got can you hear me now?
Yep.
All right. How about now?
Yep.
How about now?
Yep.
Well, crap. None of those. Well, I'm confused because now I don't even know
Now
what's
you're
working.
as confused as I am.
Yeah. Well, at least oh, wait a minute. Let's see.
Probably what I'll do after this show is
Can you
I'll
hear me
go
now?
through. Yeah, I hear you. I'll go through and I'll redo the audio. I'll start with just the microphone that I use, and then when
Right?
I do the intro, what I'll do is I'll set that up, and maybe what I'll do is I'll do an experimental
Yeah,
thing.
you can do uh, a test stream without going live.
Okay,
Or you can do a stream and put it on private
right.
and then watch the playback
Okay, there
and
you
listen to the playback.
go.
Go
Okay,
into YouTube and list it, make it,
right.
unlisted or private.
Hmm.
So, but you've got me baffled now. I'm going to have to find out why my microphone is working when it's not supposed to be.
Oh,
See,
oh,
normally, see this
there, I cannot hear you.
because I've got a button here that is on my Tascam switcher.
Ah,
It says on air and it's red. If it's lit up in red, that means I'm talking. But
uh-huh. Can't hear
yeah,
you.
that's what I like, and
Okay,
that doesn't affect uh any
right.
of my other stuff.
Hmm.
And I mean, if you ever get the chance to get one of those, and I
Right.
better fix something real quick.
Okay. Oh, we are on WBTA radio. Stands for Bluetooth. Oh, hmm, interesting. Wow, hmm, I'll have to check that out.
Okay. What happened was I was sitting there moving I have this bad habit of moving my mic around a lot,
Yeah,
and it's just a clamp that sits on my desk. Well, it started coming off, and I was about to lose the whole thing in my
yeah,
lap
I
if I
got the
didn't fix
same
it.
thing.
Yeah. If you move it too much, uh, it will start sliding off. So,
Uh,
uh,
yep,
but
mine's clamped on. But I took the accordion thing and I put it over there because it was just in the way. But
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
when I get a real mixer that
right.
works, it'll go right here, and I'll have that my golden microphone back on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I love this mic here, but yeah,
Yep.
that's what I like about this Tascam, and I think they're 149,
Yeah.
and you can put two. Well, you can put an uses the XLR or
Yeah.
the
Yeah. That's why I have on this other microphone is
right. Yeah,
XLR.
it uses that, or it uses the straight. What is it?
Quarter
Quarter
inch.
inch? Yeah,
Yeah.
quarter inch. Yeah,
Yep.
uses this.
Right. Hmm.
You know, and it's an either or on
I
that
got
one.
one
Yeah,
of those too,
yeah,
and it's
yeah.
got the RCA on the end.
Oh, okay. See,
Put it on there, and
mine has the for the what is that? The 3/8 or whatever that
mm.
it's quarter inch
So we
3/8.
went
Yeah.
from talking
Yeah,
politics.
sorry, I got sidetracked. I was trying to help you with that sound, and obviously I didn't know what I was talking about. So I'll shut up and
Yeah.
we'll go back to politics, which I don't know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about either.
So
So
let's do that. All right. So let's talk about 9/11. I know you did a video on that, which was very good.
thank you. Thank you.
Here's my story on that fateful day. I was at work, and that was back in the day, 2001. Uh, I have I have a regular radio, transistor radio, and it was a big old hunking thing
Yeah.
that had television and the weather channel or the weather anyway. I also had a CD player because I was listening to CDs, and this was back in the day where when the company would let us listen to music
Yeah.
or the
Right.
video. Now we can't do that. So I'm working along, and it's early in the morning. It was probably around 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, and someone said that a plane crashed into the World Trade Center. And I'm like, what? What? So I quickly went over and turned on the radio, and about what was it, 20 minutes later, the second
Second
plane
one.
hit the
Yeah.
other tower.
Yeah.
And I said, another plane has crashed into the other tower. And we're listening and listening. And then you heard about the plane crash at the where in I think Pennsylvania was the next one, and then or was it the
I thought it was the Pentagon was next and then Pennsylvania was the last
what? I
one.
think you're right. We're listening to that,
Yeah.
and I'm like going, holy crap, we're being attacked, and and then the towers collapse, and the whole not just our department but the departments around us, it was quiet. The lady that was working across my station from, she's crying, and we were just like all in shock.
Yeah.
And of course, they shut down air travel throughout the United States for
Yeah.
what, 3 days.
3 days, I think. Yeah, something like that.
And it was so eerie because my whole life I always heard airplanes in the sky,
Yeah.
and this was the first time I walked outside and I didn't hear an airplane, a helicopter, anything. And it just felt so strange. And I really thought that this could be the start of a world war. We could be at war with several Muslim countries, and word was trickling out where the hijackers came from. And you know, this is just my opinion. This is what I said. I'm not running for office, so I don't have to worry. I said, let's nuke them. I said,
Yeah.
we've
I
been
I think
screwing with these people for decades, and I was at a point where, uh,
yeah.
let's
Yeah.
stop this madness. Let's get it done. But it was just my emotions getting to
Yeah.
me
Well,
because I was so angry
angry. Yeah. Yeah.
situation that because we couldn't do anything. We didn't know all the facts, and then we found out the attacks originated out of Afghanistan, and it wasn't a government per se. It was just a group of people with a little bit of help from some of the Muslim communities around
Yeah.
the Middle East,
Yeah.
and it
I,
just made me mad. And
yeah. I fully understand how you felt because I was the same way. I know in my instance, we had a couple. Of course, living in Oklahoma, we had a couple other things going on. A couple thoughts went through us. First off, going back to when the first attack on the World Trade Center was in '93.
yeah,
Okay, well, '93, when that happened, and they were doing, had the trial of the blind sheik and all that stuff,
mm,
and all that was going on. Judy asked me, she says, "You think that ever happened to Oklahoma?" I said, "What have we got in Oklahoma? You know, no, we're not going to have anything like that." It's 2 years later, the Murrah Federal Building,
mm-hmm,
and I remember my daughter-in-law at the time calls me and says, "There's been an attack on the federal building in Oklahoma City." I go, "What?" And of course, my thought was initially that it was Muslim terrorists. You
uh,
know, I'd spent a little time back in that part of the world back in the day,
right,
uh, and I knew their resolve back then. This was just at the time where the Ayatollah was coming in power, and I knew what those people were capable of, and that was my first thought. Then
mm,
when I found out it was an American and one who had been in the military, I was just blown away.
mm,
But when I told Judy though in '93, nah, or well, it was actually the trial was going on about that time, just after that, when well, then when 9/11 happened, said, you know, former daughter-in-law calls me up and says, "Hey, a plane crash has just crashed into the World Trade Center." I flipped on the TV right then, and Judy said, "What?" She said, "What's going on?" I said, "There's a plane crash in the up in New York City in the World Trade Center, one of the tallest buildings in the world." And she goes, "Really?" We're sitting there watching. It's like you said. 20 minutes later, you see that other plane turn and go in, and I was like you. This has got to be a terrorist attack. I actually thought that when they were showing some of the first planes, they were starting to, there were people with videos and stuff was starting to trickle in of
mm,
that first plane going in. And, but when I saw that second one, I was like you, but my, uh, my heart dropped to my stomach.
mm,
It's just, I, I was sickened by it.
mm,
And, that's that's a feeling, and having served in the military myself and having been into some of these places around the world, that made me sick. I've seen a
right,
lot of stuff,
mm,
but that was just because and then I get hold of a friend of mine. It just so happened he had one cousin that worked in the World Trade Center, another one who was in who was, he thought was in the plane that flew into it.
oh
And
boy,
he was from Australia. But
right,
it turned out that uh, for whatever reason, the one that worked there. She didn't go to work that day because she was taking the other cousin to get on that flight,
mm,
and something happened and they got delayed, and she wasn't able to get. She missed the flight. So
oh boy,
by happenstance, they should have both died because they would have both been. One would have been in the World Trade Center, and the other one would have been on that plane.
Wow.
And it's just circumstances happened that they both missed it.
Right.
And but they didn't find out for a long time after that because there were so many things going on, and they couldn't she couldn't get another flight out, you
Uh-huh.
know. And so they were trying, and it took them a long time before they got in touch with them because they immediately assumed that that's where they were at.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it was yeah, I'll never forget what happened, and and that's why I did that video. And because we have gotten in the habit of forgetting stuff,
Yep.
you
That's
know.
right.
We build a memorial, few people go to it, but yet, you know, and this is again, I'm not running for office either. Well, I'm running for president, and if you guys want to vote for me, fine, that's okay. I'll take the votes. But the point is, you know, it's as far as these kind of countries go, we need to disassociate ourselves with all of them,
Mm-hmm.
and we shouldn't, you know, we shouldn't have them coming into our infiltrating our Congress and our Senate and any other positions that
Mm-hmm.
we've let too many of them get involved. And call me what you want, but that's I still stand by the way I felt the day that it happened. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
uh, I've said for the longest time the way to solve the problem in the Middle East is turn it into a glass factory, because you
Yeah.
know sand when it's superheated it turns to glass,
Yep. That's right.
and that's what we should do with it. Turn it to a glass factory.
Well, I was talking to my boss on 9/11 this just past week. It turns out her sister was working at a building near the towers, but
Yeah,
she wasn't there because she was moving to her new house on Long Island. So she missed that.
yeah,
Took
yeah,
them a few days to finally get a hold of her.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it did. It took a while to get hold of these people that were supposed to be there and weren't there because of circumstances. And you
Right.
know, this uh it was I know it affected people around the world. It was and you know something? It brought our country together.
Yeah.
And I forgot who it was, but somebody was who it was in the news, and they're the last person I thought, but they would be saying this, but they were chiding all of the congressmen and senators that didn't show up to the memorial that day. You
Uh,
know, that didn't get out there, and you know, because guess what? Some of them got out there and saying "God bless America" again. You
hmm.
know, which they should be doing. You know, it was okay in 18 years ago for our congressmen and senators to stand out there arm in arm and sing off tune as it was, God bless America, it was okay. Now, oh, heaven forbid you mention the word God anywhere near some of these people now, you know.
Yeah, when this all happened, and the Democrats and Republicans were united. We were, with one. We had been attacked, and while that was happening, I was thinking to myself, how long's that gonna last? And you know what? It didn't. It lasted 6 weeks, and then the Democrats started
Yeah,
tearing into
yeah,
George Bush and
yeah.
uh,
Rodney said it took 4 hours for the FAA to ground all the flights.
right.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
you know, I had the same memory you did because we don't have a lot of planes that fly over Muskogee, but there's a certain flight path from Tulsa to say Fort Smith, and they kind of pass over here.
Right.
And uh that was one of the most eerie things that I can remember, stepping out for that 3 or 4 days or that week that they were grounded, you know,
Mhm.
and not hearing any air traffic. That, you know,
Mhm.
and but yeah, Rodney, you're right. I think I do remember it took. I mean, but think about it. How many aircraft were in the air at the moment that happened, and they were able to get them all on the ground within 4 hours? That that's pretty astounding when you think about it.
Well, how about, I was watching Pusa Studio on that, 9/11 this past week, and they had some people from Colorado that were in New York when that happened, and
Yeah.
how you know Gander, Newfoundland. There were a lot of planes that were grounded there
Yeah.
that couldn't get in, and the population of the town doubled
Yes.
overnight. And the other thing that happened is every year after that, the people who landed there, they go back to Gander.
Yeah, it's become a memorial celebration of
Right.
what Gander did for them.
Mm-mm.
They put these people up until they could get them diverted. And yeah, they Gander has made a memorial of it, and that's that there again.
Yeah.
This was the one moment I think we had to correct a lot of the mistakes that were created. This, in my opinion, was all created by Jimmy Carter and
Yep.
his treating his the way he dealt with the Shah of Iran
Uh-huh.
and the way he dealt with the government that was in power after. And I'm not talking the Ayatollah. I'm talking about the vice president of Iran who took over right after the when the
Right.
Shah stepped down. They had somebody who took over. We didn't support him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He decided he wanted to support because, after all, the Ayatollah was a religious man. He wouldn't be a bad guy.
Yeah, that's right, and that's true. And plus, back then, the Democrats had control of both houses at the.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And we could have stopped some of this situation way back when.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep.
he was so busy trying to make it look nice when he gets Egypt and Israel to shake hands,
Yep.
but he lets a madman loose in the middle of in another country. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
and they should have, and under Bill Clinton, Osama bin Laden could have been stopped. Good news I heard, and it's been confirmed, I think yesterday, that at least Osama's son is dead now too.
Oh, okay.
They confirmed he was killed in August or this summer,
Oh, okay.
and he was taken over as the leader of Al Qaeda. So
Okay.
they took him out
Mm-hmm.
by the Americans.
Well, that's good. That's cool. And this is the thing. This is why I've been watching this channel on YouTube called The Great War, which ended up being the downfall of the Ottoman Empire, and at the aftermath of World War One is still being felt today.
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah,
at the time it was all under the Turks
right.
control the Middle East, well, except for Persia, but they're not Arab; they're Persians,
They're Persians. Yeah,
and I'm learning a lot about the Battle of Gallipoli and Anzac, and
yeah. That was see.
that's how Churchill got fired as Lord of the Admiralty.
Yeah,
And right now, they're talking about Italy just got involved in the war, and they wanted concessions, saying, "Okay, if we go on this side, we want this. If we help these guys, we want that." So it was a back and forth. But
yeah,
going back to Gallipoli, the objective was to knock the Ottomans out of the war by taking over the Straits of the Dardanelles Straits.
right,
And they were going to give Russia Constantinople or Istanbul,
right,
and they were going to give other uh, factions certain concessions. And because you got to remember, Turkey was part of the Byzantine Empire, which was the Orthodox Christians. They were
right,
the Eastern Catholic.
right, right.
And Constantinople was named after Constantine,
Constantine. Yeah, yeah.
who was the Caesar
Caesar.
of of the Eastern Roman Empire,
Right, right.
and he was also, I believe, he was a pope of the Eastern Empire as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the reason Constantinople is there is because during the uh it was one of the fights against the Muslims, and they actually had to evacuate Rome, and they moved to Constantinople
Right,
and set up the Orthodox Church. Well,
right,
set up the Catholic Church. It was actually the Roman. It was actually the Roman Catholics at that point when it was first founded.
right.
Okay, but then when they got back control of Rome, they went back. But by that time, they had a pope, or the bishop of Constantinople declared himself a pope because he says this was the seat of the Holy Roman Empire, and this is the seat of it. You know, you left Rome, thus abandoning your seat, so you came here. Now you're going back and setting it up again, and that's when they had the schism.
That's right. That's right. Hmm.
You know, and because the because a lot of people don't understand, but the the Pope is also the Bishop of Rome.
That's true. That's true.
And so the Bishop of Constantinople says, wait a minute, this is where the seat of the Holy Roman Empire, or this is where the seat of Catholicism was at while you guys were under attack up there in Italy.
Hmm.
So now you're taking that away and you're going back up there. You know, this is the part of the world where Christianity started anyways.
Yeah, that's
You know,
true.
it didn't start in Rome, it started down here.
Hmm.
So I'm declaring myself the bishop of Constantinople, which makes me the patriarch of the Byzantine
Hmm.
Church, or the Eastern Orthodox.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eastern Orthodox.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I have to stop. It's been a while since I've discussed that stuff, but anyways,
Right. Hmm. Yeah, it's a fascinating channel, and uh, basically, the war was about aging monarchs who just wanted to experience the thrill of a war. You know, the vanity of conquering their neighbors' lands for the fatherland,
right.
because France Ferdinand, who was the emperor of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, he was already in his 80s when that
Yeah,
war started, and
right, right.
his son Rudolph committed suicide. So there was no other heir to the throne, and and you got to remember, uh, well, you watch Big Bang Theory with Sheldon.
Occasionally, yeah.
Okay, the Kaiser was the Sheldon Cooper of emperors
Right,
because
right.
he's famous for saying inappropriate things, just
Yeah,
thinking about himself as, oh, I'm important. You guys, you're all plebes. And he thinks
yeah.
he's, uh, building up people, but in fact, what he says is
Terry.
totally opposite.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, a lot of this, I say a lot of this goes to Victoria. We need to blame it on Queen Victoria to begin with. It all goes back to her because all World War One was, in essence, was a bunch of fighting cousins.
Yep, that's right. Hmm.
Because she's the grandmother of Europe.
Yep,
That's what she's known as. Because
yep.
Kaiser
The grandson.
was her grandson.
Yep.
So uh, was it George the Fifth? Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Yep.
it's George the Fifth because George the Sixth was uh, Elizabeth's father.
Right.
So it'd be George the Fifth. That was also a grandson. So was I can't remember. I think Tsar Nicholas. It was his wife was a
Yep.
granddaughter of
Yep.
Victoria.
Right.
I mean, the three big players in that war were all related. They
Mhm.
were all cousins.
And I think Franz Ferdinand was even
Y- y-
distantly related.
Distant related. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. They were all related to Victoria because,
Hmm.
she left. Uh, Trying to think. I have to stop and think. When did she die? She died like in
Oh, I think '04.
1904. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was thinking. She dies in 1904. I couldn't remember if it was '02 or '04. But, and I don't know if her son did he take the throne? I
Well,
don't
he's
think he did.
pretty old. That would be,
I can't remember who the
I
Prince of
think,
Wales was.
George the one of the.
Yeah.
There was George, and it was Edward. He abdicated, and then
Yeah. Well, there was two Georges because there was George
George the Fifth and George the Sixth, who
Sixth, who
is
was the father of Edward, and oh no, George the Sixth was Elizabeth's father. Edward was the older brother.
yeah,
Edward the Eighth, I think. Uh, he abdicated. He never actually he abdicated, and he was. I don't know that he was formally
married a
crowned.
commoner.
He married he married a divorcee.
Yep.
You know, and yeah, that's when they became the Duke and Duchess of Windsor.
Hmm. Yep.
But yeah.
After
Anyways,
World War I, they all the English families gave up their German.
German name. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
And
And
they
they
went to
became the Windsors.
yeah. That's when they became the Windsors. Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, was it after or during World War One?
I think it was during World War
World
One.
War One. Yeah, because can't
Because
remember what their last name was.
they were Holzholler, Gotha.
Okay. Yeah. It's
Hmm.
been a while since I've studied World War One, but yeah,
Well, if you watch this channel, you'll remember stuff,
yeah,
and then you'll go, "Wow, I didn't know that."
yeah.
And
Well, here's the thing. Uh, the the one thing is it was initially fired off by the anarchists shooting Franz Ferdinand.
yep,
Those were anarchists, and they were in essence socialist.
yep,
You
hmm,
know, and they were just one step below socialist, and which was one step below
communists.
communist. Yeah, yeah, and uh, we actually had some people that were working for our government that mm, they kind of helped support the uh, the anarchists trying to push. I don't know what their purpose was, but they were infiltrating and trying to get to the head of the anarchist movement. And Antifa and the anarchists are almost identical.
Yep, hmm,
I mean, they truly are. When you look at the anarchist ways and you look at and the anarchists were split in two parts. One of their leaders was a pacifist,
hmm,
and another one, and those were the ones that were pushed by the American agents, were they were the militaristic side.
oh, okay,
And yeah,
mhm,
little something I picked up watching something here just the other day. So little trivia.
right. Hmm.
Anyways,
So yeah, go check them out. The Great War, and then they started another series after that called In Between Wars, which talks about the 20s and the 30s that led right up to World War II. And right now,
well,
yesterday, they just did, let's see, what was yesterday? The 14th, which would
yeah,
have been September 14th, 1940. So they're doing it in real time.
right, right,
So
yeah,
next week will be the 21st, and they'll talk about, okay, what happened in World War II during that week. And
yeah. Don't forget when you get ready to finalize all this show to drop the link to this channel in your description for today's show.
okay.
That way, when I go back and watch a replay, I can check your subscription because I do go back and watch a replay.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, it,
And last I looked, I'm up to 106.
oh,
So
good,
I
good.
gained one today. So
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Uh,
Rodney, Rodney had to leave. He said,
okay. Thanks
so,
for stopping by.
and uh, We've been live for an hour and 17 minutes
Yeah.
already.
Wow,
Where
that's
does the time go?
yeah, two old farts talking about stuff,
Yeah.
history, politics, V-Mate,
Yeah.
Wirecast.
Yeah. Wirecast. Yeah. That's that's where this background I'm using,
Yep,
which is this. Actually, you and I have the same shot, but
it's
yours is
right.
either zoomed in
Yeah.
and probably shifted from one side to the other because I recognize some of the same.
Hmm.
Uh, all right, the building that's over your right shoulder is
The cash register building.
no, it's is this direction from me.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, so I'm sitting from where you're at. I'm sitting probably off, but this is the same shot because I've got the same building,
Right.
and but mine it's angled different. Where yours is angled like this and
Right.
has this face showing, mine has the other face showing.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well, actually, yeah, 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 complete, yeah, different. The angles are the shots are from this positions right like that. Yeah. Anyways, I look at stuff like that. I don't know why. I see something I like, but I wanted to emulate the shot. So uh,
Okay.
I
All right.
apparently got the corner office.
Let's uh let's call this a show, and then
Yep.
after this we'll chat a little more and
Okay.
hopefully get
Okay.
stuff fixed up. So
Okay. All right.
uh you know, I will do the countdown and we'll see what happens. So
Okay.
what I'll do is I'll take your picture out, move that from the stream, and then I'm gonna go over here, and you know what? I'm just gonna have the timer. That's it. We'll fool around with the anyway. Hey, thanks everyone for joining in. Lloyd, I want to thank you for uh, helping out. So, anyway, we'll see you next week. We, if we do have a show, it'll be later in the day because I'll be coming back from Detroit early in the morning, and I'll be editing a lot of video from my trip. I'm going to my class reunion in Michigan, so no arts place or no, I mean Art Co Drone Solutions. No show next Saturday. So thank you all for coming in, and you have a wonderful day. Go Broncos. Okay, I can't hear anything, so let's drink.